Nia adjusted her natural curls in the rearview mirror, taking a deep breath before stepping out toward the Hallberg estate. The golden lights from the marble columns glowed with an imposing, cold elegance, much like the people living inside. Savannah winters carried a sharp chill, but Nia knew the real cold was waiting for her behind those heavy oak doors. She smoothed her navy blue dress, telling herself she deserved to be here, despite the scrutiny and whispers she had endured for 3 years as a daughter-in-law. Today was her birthday. It should have been a day of joy, yet a vague unease churned in her stomach. She remembered Julian's promise last week, his eyes avoiding hers as he held her hand. This year's birthday won't be like the others. His voice had sounded promising, but his gaze held a secret that sent a shiver down her spine. Nia shook her head, pushing the negative thoughts away. She reached for the small, velvet-wrapped gift on the passenger seat, a silk scarf she had carefully chosen for her mother-in-law, even though today was her day. That was how Nia survived in this family, always offering kindness, even when receiving only coldness in return. The grand door opened before she could ring the bell. Julian stepped out, but not with open arms or a welcoming kiss. He stood there, hands in his pockets, the outline of his newest smartphone pressing against his suit jacket, something he had been guarding like a treasure lately. The night wind tousled Nia's hair. Julian frowned, reaching out to smooth it down but then pulling back, his eyes resting on her natural hair with familiar dissatisfaction. "You decided to keep your hair like this?" Julian asked, his voice low but planted with a seed of hurt. "Mother invited some friends from the ladies' club. She prefers things neat and traditional. You know, this style looks a bit wild for the formal atmosphere here." Nia paused for a beat. Wild. The polite word his family always used to refer to her roots. They wanted her to straighten her hair, to blend into their pale, indistinct picture, to deny herself. Nia held her head high, looking straight into her husband's eyes, her voice gentle but firm. "This is my hair, Julian. It's a part of me, and it's beautiful. I won't change myself just to please people who have never accepted me." Julian sighed, a mix of boredom and tension on his face. He mumbled something about keeping the peace and turned back inside, leaving Nia to follow like a shadow. As her heels clicked against the marble floor of the main hall, the chatter and laughter suddenly dipped. The white guests in expensive evening wear paused with wine glasses at their lips, their eyes gliding over her, lingering on her skin and hair before turning away to whisper. That silence was louder than any scream. Nia felt like a strange creature wandering into their sanctuary, where her skin color was an indelible mark. She gripped her purse strap, forcing a smile at a distant relative of Julian's, who gave a curt nod and turned away. The living room smelled of expensive candles and fresh flowers, but to Nia, it was suffocating. Julian moved closer, his expensive cologne failing to mask the scent of calculation. He leaned in, his breath cold against her neck. He whispered, his voice unusually tense, "Just smile and nod tonight. Don't do anything to draw attention." Julian just told Nia to stay silent, but we know a storm is brewing. If you are on Nia's side and finding value in this story so far, please drop the number 2 in the comments below to let me know you're here with us. And if you haven't already, I highly recommend you subscribe to Black King and hit that notification bell. You won't want to miss the moment she finally finds her voice. Your support helps us continue creating powerful content that informs and inspires. Now, let's step into that dining room. The dining table was set to perfection with white orchids and candlelight, but Nia's seat was placed in a dim corner, separated from the family center. She sat there, amidst polished silver and fine linen, feeling like a misplaced punctuation mark in a perfectly aligned text. Eleanor sat at the head of the table, the queen's throne, her gaze skipping over Nia as if she were invisible, landing fondly on her white niece sitting opposite. "Sarah, your skin looks absolutely radiant lately, like porcelain," she exclaimed, her voice musical. Truly the Hallberg family beauty, unmistakable. The table murmured in agreement, while Nia squeezed her hands under the napkin, understanding the subtext perfectly. Purity was the only standard here. The air in the Magnolia room was thick with the aroma of lobster bisque and vintage wine, but it was heavy with judgment. The soft clinking of silverware against china sounded like cold metal. Eleanor took a sip of soup, elegant and poised, then suddenly turned to Nia. her smile perfectly curved but her eyes sharp as knives. "Nia, is the soup to your liking?" she asked loudly, bringing all other conversations to a halt. "I asked the chef to reduce the heavy cream because I was afraid you wouldn't be used to it. I know you're accustomed to spicier, more common dishes from the area you grew up in." A few giggles rippled through the guests. It was the kind of polite racism Nia knew too well, packaging prejudice inside fake concern. Nia set her spoon down, lifting her chin to look directly at her mother-in-law. She didn't let anger take the wheel. "Actually, it's delicious, Mother," Nia replied, her voice as calm and professional as when she managed meetings at the hotel. "And it's not unfamiliar at all. The five-star hotel where I manage serves this lobster bisque, according to the standard French recipe, every day. My palate is quite diverse, as long as it's cooked with respect." Eleanor's smile stiffened for a fraction of a second. She hadn't expected her lowly daughter-in-law to respond with such poise and knowledge. To cover her embarrassment, she snapped at the housekeeper pouring wine. "Martha, watch your hand. Don't spill that wine on the tablecloth. It costs more than your monthly salary." Martha, an older African-American woman with calloused hands, bowed her head, trembling with apology. She fumbled to retreat when Nia gently touched her arm. A soft touch, but full of understanding and solidarity between two women of color in a room of white supremacy. "Thank you, Martha," Nia whispered loud enough for her to hear. "You're doing a great job." Martha looked up, her eyes shining with gratitude mixed with worry for Nia. Across the table, Julian barely touched his food. He was fidgety, constantly checking his watch. Then, with a stealthy but clumsy motion, he propped his phone against his water glass, aiming the camera directly at Nia. The tiny red light blinked. "Recording." Nia caught a glimpse of it but wondered. Was he capturing a birthday memory, or setting the stage for a play where she was the unwilling lead? The uneasiness in Nia's chest coiled tight. Before she could turn to ask her husband, the sound of metal striking crystal rang out, cutting through her thoughts. Eleanor tapped her spoon against her wine glass, the ding-ding sounding sharp and cold. "All right, everyone, it's time for the most special gift of the night." Eleanor stood up, holding a beautiful pastel pink envelope, but her eyes held no warmth for her daughter-in-law. The light from the crystal chandelier above illuminated her, making her look more like a judge preparing to pass a sentence than a mother-in-law celebrating a birthday. Nia recognized the envelope. It was the same one she had glimpsed on Eleanor's desk a few days ago, which Eleanor had quickly hidden, lying that it was charity documents for poor children. It turned out her charity never extended to Nia, and this moment had been calculated long ago. The room fell silent, save for the soft jazz music drifting aimlessly in the air, lost amidst the escalating tension. All eyes were on Nia, some curious, some gleeful, as if waiting for a scripted drama to unfold. Nia felt her throat go dry. She wanted to believe this was a gesture of reconciliation, a genuine gift, but the survival instinct of a black woman who had fought all her life for recognition was screaming in alarm. Julian remained frozen, gripping his phone, the screen glowing as it captured his mother's every move and his wife's face. Eleanor approached, her heavy perfume overpowering the air. She placed the envelope right next to Nia's wine glass, smiling, a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "My dear Nia," she began, her voice smooth as velvet but hiding sharp blades. "I've thought a lot about this gift. I think it's time to return you to the place where you truly belong. The Hallberg family has its own traditions and standards, requiring people of equal class and origin to maintain them. And clearly, you've always felt out of place here, haven't you?" She slid the envelope gently toward Nia. "Open it. Happy birthday." Nia reached out with trembling hands. Her slender fingers brushed the smooth paper. She took a deep breath, slipped her finger under the flap, and tore it open. The sound of tearing paper was dry and harsh, ripping through the fake silence of the party. She pulled out the papers inside. No greeting card, no gift voucher, no words of love. Staring back at her were cold, bold legal words on white paper. Divorce papers. Time seemed to stop. Nia stared numbly at the words "dissolution of marriage," right below her name and Julian's. Her heart felt squeezed by an invisible hand. She looked up, searching for Julian, hoping he would rush over and snatch the papers, claiming it was a cruel joke. But no, Julian sat there, holding the phone steadier now, his thumb sliding on the screen to zoom the camera in on her shocked face. He wasn't a husband protecting his wife. He was a cameraman documenting the most humiliating moment of her life to please his mother. Eleanor chuckled, a soft sound echoing with cruelty. She crossed her arms, looking down at Nia with haughty superiority. "Sign it, darling. Consider it your ticket back to your world. You were never meant to be a Hallberg." Can you believe the cruelty Nia just endured? If you are still watching and you're ready to see justice served, please comment the number 2 below to let me know you're here with us. And if you haven't already, I highly recommend you subscribe to Black King and turn on that notification bell right now, because you do not want to miss Nia's response. Your support helps us continue creating amazing content that informs and inspires you. Now, let's see how a true queen handles this. The room was so quiet that the ticking of the antique grandfather clock in the corner sounded like a heartbeat. Nia picked up the pen lying beside her plate. Her hand, which Julian and Eleanor expected to be trembling with grief, was steady as a rock. In that suspended moment, a memory of her grandmother's voice washed over her, warm and grounding like the savannah earth. "Baby, when they try to bury you in dirt, you just remember one thing: you are a seed." Nia looked at the divorce papers one last time. They weren't a death sentence. They were an expiration date on her suffering. She pressed the pen to the paper. The sound of the nib scratching against the crisp white page was loud, deliberate, and final. Nia Cross. She signed her name with a flourish, dotting the I with a precision that felt like severing a chain. No tears fell. No pleas for a second chance escaped her lips. She kept the pen and set it down gently, the soft click echoing like a gunshot in the silent room. Julian lowered his phone slightly, his brow furrowed in genuine confusion. The script he and his mother had written for tonight didn't have this scene. "Wait," he stammered, his voice cracking. Aren't you going to ask why? Are you going to cry?" Nia looked at him, then at Eleanor, whose triumphant smile was beginning to falter at the edges. Nia smiled, a calm, pitying smile that unnerved them both. "Cry?" she repeated softly. "Why would I cry over losing something that never valued me?" Without breaking eye contact with Eleanor, Nia reached down into her purse. "Since we are exchanging surprises tonight," she said, her voice clear and commanding, "I have an announcement as well." She pulled out a thick, cream-colored envelope embossed with gold leaf, a stark contrast to the cheap, pink stationery of the divorce papers. The logo on the front shimmered under the chandelier. The Grand Regency Hotel, New York. A collective gasp rippled through the guests. Everyone knew the Grand Regency. It was the pinnacle of luxury, the fiercest competitor that the Hallberg family had been trying to outshine for decades. Nia slid the golden envelope onto the table, right next to the divorce papers. "I received this offer 3 days ago," she explained, her tone conversational yet powerful. "They've been scouting me for months. They didn't see a wild woman or a charity case. They saw a leader." Eleanor leaned forward, her eyes widening as she read the bold text on the letterhead visible through the open flap: "Offer of employment, Senior Director of Guest Services." It came with a salary double what Julian made, and a full relocation package to a luxury suite in Manhattan. "I was hesitating," Nia continued, standing up and smoothing her dress. She looked taller, more regal than she ever had in this house. "I was worried about leaving my husband behind, about trying to make this marriage work one last time." She pushed the signed divorce papers across the polished wood toward Eleanor. "But thank you, Eleanor. Your gift just made my decision very easy. Now, I have absolutely no reason to refuse this opportunity." Eleanor's mouth hung slightly open, her face flushing a deep, mottled red that clashed violently with her pearls. The air of aristocratic superiority she had worn all evening evaporated, leaving behind only the naked embarrassment of a bully who had picked the wrong victim. Beside her, Julian's grip finally slackened. His smartphone slipped from his sweaty fingers and hit the mahogany table with a dull, heavy thud, the screen cracking on impact, a fitting symbol for the fractured reality of the Hallberg family. The silence that followed was thick, but it didn't last. From the shadows near the kitchen door, a single, sharp sound cut through the tension. Clap. Then another. It was Martha. The housekeeper, who had been silenced and scolded just moments ago, was standing tall, tears shimmering in her eyes, applauding with a ferocity that defied her station. Slowly, a young server joined in. Then the bartender. The applause rippled outward from the staff to the guests, growing like a tide. It wasn't polite applause. It was the thunderous sound of justice. The guests realized the cruelty they had just witnessed and the grace with which it was handled, began to clap, some out of awkwardness, others out of genuine newfound respect for the woman standing tall at the end of the table. Nia didn't look at the wealthy guests. She turned her gaze to the one person in the room who mattered. She walked over to Martha, ignoring Eleanor's sputtering attempts to speak. Nia reached out and squeezed the older woman's rough hands. "Goodbye, Martha," she said, her voice warm amidst the chaos. "You deserve better than this place. Don't let them make you feel small." Martha nodded, wiping a tear from her cheek, her smile beaming with pride for the girl she had watched suffer in silence for too long. Nia grabbed her purse, the golden offer letter tucked safely inside, and turned toward the grand exit. Julian scrambled up from his chair, nearly knocking it over. "Nia, wait," he called out, his voice desperate, finally realizing the magnitude of what he was losing. He reached for her arm, but Nia stopped him with a single icy glance. She didn't pull away. She simply looked at his hand on her sleeve until he released her out of shame. "Don't, Julian," she said, her voice devoid of anger, leaving only a hollow indifference. "You had 1,000 chances to be my husband. Tonight, you chose to be your mother's cameraman. You chose your side." She turned her back on him, her navy dress swaying elegantly with her stride. The applause was still echoing as she pushed open the heavy oak doors. The sound of her heels clicking on the marble floor faded, replaced by the rush of the night wind. As the doors slammed shut behind her with a definitive boom, the noise, the judgment, and the suffocating scent of lilies were instantly cut off. Nia stepped out onto the porch, inhaling the sharp, cold winter air. It didn't feel biting anymore. It felt like the cleanest oxygen she had ever breathed. It tasted of freedom. 6 months later, the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Grand Regency in New York City framed a view of the skyline that glittered like a promise kept. Nia stood behind her mahogany desk, the nameplate reading Nia Cross, Senior Director, catching the morning sun. She wore a tailored cream suit that complemented her glowing skin, and her hair fell in loose, voluminous curls around her shoulders, unapologetic and magnificent. The silence here wasn't cold or oppressive. It was the quiet hum of power and productivity. On the wall-mounted screen in the lounge area, a news ticker scrolled silently. Hallberg Foundation loses major sponsors following leaked video scandal. Nia didn't need to turn up the volume to know the story. The internet had done the work for her. She turned back to her tablet, reviewing the VIP guest list for the upcoming gala. Her team respected her not because of who she married or where she came from, but because she was brilliant at what she did. The intercom buzzed, and her assistant's voice came through, bright and cheerful. "Ms. Cross, the board members are ready for you in conference room B. And your personal line is ringing again." It's a number from Savannah. Nia glanced at her cell phone vibrating on the corner of the desk. The screen displayed a name that used to make her heart race, then break, and now simply made her feel nothing: Julian. It was the 5th time he had called this week. She could imagine him, probably sitting in a house that felt too big and too quiet, with a mother whose reputation was in tatters, realizing too late that his silence had cost him the best thing in his life. For a split second, she considered answering. She could tell him how happy she was. She could tell him that she had just closed the biggest deal of the quarter. She could ask him how it felt to be the son of a pariah. But then, she remembered the woman who had walked out of those oak doors 6 months ago. That woman didn't need validation from the past. Nia reached out and tapped the red decline icon. The vibration stopped. The screen went dark. "Tell the board I'm on my way," Nia replied to her assistant, her voice steady and light. "And ignore that call. It's just a wrong number." She walked over to the glass window one last time, catching her reflection against the backdrop of the bustling city. The sad, anxious woman who had sat at the corner of the dining table in Savannah was gone. Staring back was a woman who had built her own table. Nia straightened her blazer, grabbed her portfolio, and turned away from the window. She stepped out of her office and walked down the long, bright corridor toward the meeting room, her heels clicking a rhythm of victory. The future was wide open, and for the first time in her life, It belonged entirely to her.